Hello, just for something different today, I'm going to talk about the US elections. Just in case you're not getting enough of that, I thought maybe I'd add. So, the reason that I'm going to talk about it is because there's so much controversy around it at the moment. So, today is the 5th of November in Australia, and it is the 4th of November still in the US. I'm an Australian, I'm in Australia, I didn't vote, it's not my country. But still, even here, it's like wall-to-wall US election. And there's a lot of sort of growing animosity between different sides about who's cheating, who's not cheating, who blah, 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 blah. There's just a lot. So I thought it was, why not? Why not me also? be a commentator. But I'm not going to commentate. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to ask the question, what's a useful way to perceive the US election situation? And the situation is this, both sides calling each other cheats and so on. So, what's a useful way to perceive the US election situation so that you don't get sort of caught up in the drama and just, it makes your head explode? Is there something bigger? Is there something, a larger way to perceive it, which is useful or can facilitate your own awakening in some way? Right, so here's the question. What's a useful way to perceive the US election situation? Alrighty, so let's see what we got. And I know you enjoy to watch me do this. Just in case you were missing seeing me drink from a bottle, there it is, just for you. Okay, righto. Greetings and thank you for the question. What is a useful way for you to perceive the US elections? Let us start by saying that the Earth human field is in the process of transition. Not transitioning from one governing administration to another, but from a much larger perspective. Humanity is transitioning to a completely new paradigm, to a completely new way of existing as a human being. And during this transition process, there is going to be the inevitable disruption of the old, such that the vibration can reach a new harmonic and then form a new societal structure, a new way of being, which will be reflective of this ascension of vibration in the human field which is taking place. So you may have seen the demonstrations of sand or salt or some fine grain on a board, which is then attached to a source of vibration, a sound as such, and as the vibration of the sound put into the board is increased, then the sprinkled particles, the sand or the salt, form new, increasingly more sophisticated patterns. And in between these patterns, there is a period of turbulence where the former pattern has broken down and there is no conformity, there is no defined definition, and this transition process, where it appears to be absolute chaos, lasts momentarily until the particles harmonize with the new vibratory state. and form a more complex or a more sophisticated pattern. This is a good metaphor for what is occurring in the human field. And so, right now, what is occurring is reflective of this chaotic state when there is the transition from these two different vibratory states. So the desire of the two opposing factions, so there is a polarization in the human field, and one side of this polarization wishes to take the human field, the paradigm, to a higher vibratory state, so that it emerges from this chaotic period with a more sophisticated, more integrated pattern, such that there are more parts touching other parts. There is more connection, there is more integration, there is more unification of all parts into a single whole. And the binary to that, or the polarity to that, is the intent to decrease the vibratory state. So there is emergence from this period of chaos into a more simplified pattern where there is less connectivity, there is less integration, less sophistication. However, the latter is counter to the tendency of the universe. So the one desires as its fundamental purpose to know itself through experience, and the one is the ultimate light and love. And so as it experiences itself in physicality, the physicality more and more takes on the quality of the infinite love of the one. And this quality, as it is expressed through physicality, is an increase or a movement towards greater connectivity, greater connection, greater sophistication, integration. And so this is the process of expansion that is occurring across all existence. It is the inevitable unfoldment of the Divine One's purpose, which is to know itself through experience. And as it knows itself through experience, then it becomes the players of the experience. So each individuation in existence is a perspective of the One. And as each of these perspectives become more realized, that they themselves are the One, having the unique experience through the perspective which is them, then there is this unfoldment of unification, of integration, of realizing that you and all are one. And as this is the natural tendency, then this is the natural tendency also in the human field on planet Earth. This is the direction of all of existence. So any forces that seek to retard this, to inhibit this, to reduce the vibration, to deintegrate, to divide, deunify, is counter to the natural tendency and the purpose of the One. And so it is with greater effort, greater expenditure of energy that this is achieved, because the natural persuasion of existence is to head towards the greater unification, greater integration, greater awareness of being part of the One, which is infinite love. So as you look at the political situation in the United States, understand that this is where this bifurcation at the moment is very apparent. So we shall not say which side is a movement towards the unification and integration into a greater representation of the infinite love of the One, and which one is a movement away from that, a lowering of vibration, a de-integration, a de-unification. We will allow that for you to decide. And we recommend that when you go through this process of discernment to determine how this bifurcation correlates to the polarization, to the light and the dark, that you be completely honest with self, that you make your conclusions from a basis of clarity. So have access to information which is accurate, which is truly representative of what is occurring, which is truly gives you insight into what each of these political divisions have as the basis of their vibration. And then if you can be honest and you have access to information which is steeped in the integrity of forthrightness, then you will have within you the capacity to make an accurate discernment regarding which of these factions, which of these splits is a split towards a lowering of vibration and a split towards an increasing of vibration. The mechanism of realization for you, the individual, is to go through the process of realizing what you are not, so that you can release that. And through this releasing, through this letting go of what you are not, you become more translucent. And there is less occlusion over what you are, because you are. And any occlusion to what you are is the result of misunderstanding of self, misconceptualization of self. Because at the basis, at the very heart, you are. So you do not need to force who you are, because who you are is there. All you need to do is reveal who you are. And this process of revelation is to incrementally remove the conceptualizations of self, the beliefs of self, the misunderstanding of self, to release them one by one, incrementally, piece by piece. And more, as you release them, you reveal the treasure buried underneath. And this treasure is the true essence of who you are. In a more specific sense, the general way of being a human being is to perceive themselves as the mind, the body, the personality. So what they see in the mirror is them. However, this is just a temporary collection of assets that you are manifesting from the higher self, such that you can integrate into the physical experience for the purpose of knowing yourself through experience, for the purpose of awakening into the physical experience, that you are not the mind, the body, the personality, but you are instead the eternal, immortal, infinite, energetic, the perspective, an individuation of the love of the One. This is your purpose, and by proxy you are fulfilling the One's purpose, which is to know thyself through experience. Because you are an individuation of the One. You are the One having a unique experience through the perspective, which is you. And so this process of discovering what you are not, so that you can release it and reveal who you are underneath, is also occurring at the scale of the humanity being. So you are not just a human being, but you are also a cell of the humanity being. And as humanity moves towards greater integration, what shall eventually become part of the human paradigm is the realization that yes, you are the individual, but yes, you are also the humanity being, a single being which is comprised of all humans. Just as you are the human being, which is comprised of all the individual cells of your body. The consciousness of all of your individual cells are nested in the consciousness which is you. And you are nested within the consciousness of the humanity being. And the humanity being is nested within the consciousness of the earth being. And the earth being is nested within the consciousness of the solar system being. This is the structure. And so, as you go through this process of folding back the petals and realizing that you are the true essence, the higher self-energetic, the individuation of the love of the One, the eternal being, having a physical experience, having a temporary physical experience, and you go through this process of releasing the occlusions, letting go of the false beliefs of self, which limit you to this small version of self, where you believe yourself to be the mind, the body, the personality. From the scale of the humanity being, this is also what is occurring. The humanity being is also going through the process of realizing what it is through the releasing of what it is not. For the humanity being to be realized as the collection, the unification of the higher self-essence of all of humanity integrated into a single being, it must also go through this process of letting go of what it is not, so that what is revealed is the true essence. So what is left once every petal has been folded back, once all the soil has been swept aside, is the heart of the flower, is the treasure underneath. And this process involves energetic shifts which are of a larger scale, which are of a global scale, which are of a scale which includes all of humanity. And this is why playing out now in the human field is this great bifurcation, is this great polarization, where there is an increasing separation between the light and the dark. And there are increasing intensities in the dark and in the light, as individuals within the human field begin to realize and wake up that they are light, they are beings of light, they are beings of love, having incarnated from the One. They are literally love and light. And so the darkness they carry, the hate, the fear, the despair, they are increasingly realizing that this darkness they carry is not themselves. It is false belief, it is false identity. It is misunderstanding of self. It's misconceptualization of who you truly are. And so they are purging the darkness. They're realizing that I have this fear not because I am the fear, but because I haven't been infected, I have been toxified with the fear through misrepresentation, through deliberate manipulation of those that seek to control me, of those who seek to toxify me with their darkness, such that I, in a sense, become a battery, carrying the darkness, which they, at the center of the darkness, can use as a source of their power, as a source of their influence, as a mechanism for the increasing consolidation of their power over the human field. And so this is released. And there is a movement towards the light. And this bifurcation is occurring on both sides. So also, there is a shift towards the darkness. There are those who are invested in the darkness and who wield the darkness as a method of influence, as a source of power. And there are those who have been and remain to be deceived by the system, by the cultural pillars, by the mechanisms that those who wield the darkness have used for a very long time to have sway over the human field, to consolidate their power and decrease the influence of those who are not themselves, who they don't identify as being part of them, because they wish to have separation, separating themselves into an elite group, into an elevated form of humanity. And those who remain, who are outside of this small group, that those are divided, are separated, are powerless, have no authority or influence which can challenge them. And closer to this heart of darkness, there are the many humans who have been deeply indoctrinated and steeped in mistruth about what is happening in the world, about what the reality is. And they use these individuals as minions, as a force, as an army working against their own best interests, not realizing that they are being manipulated, they are being indoctrinated into performing a service which ultimately is not about their betterment, their enrichment, their prosperity, but is about the prosperity and the consolidation of all things regarding wealth and power for those that wield the darkness. And so humanity, as a single being, the humanity being, is going through this process of realization that it is not the darkness, that it is instead the light. And as it goes through this process, it is, as a single being, beginning to purge the darkness, beginning to disassociate from the darkness, beginning to realize that the darkness isn't it, but instead is the result of deliberate manipulation, deliberate toxification, deliberate use of the cultural pillars over a very long time to implant these beliefs and hatreds and fears for the purpose of manipulation. And this releasing, this letting go, is the awakening of the humanity being. So, as this process continues, and there is a greater demarcation, there is a greater separation between the light and the dark, those that are in the darkness, their intensity of darkness will inevitably increase. Because as they maintain the darkness, under the conditions of shedding millions of people who have waking up and realizing what is at play, what has been occurring, that they have been the victims of this manipulation, indoctrination for generations, and they are moving from the darkness to the light, or moving from the middle ground where they are a blending. They are some light and some dark. They are some the true essence of themselves, and they are some the mind stuff which they have been carrying, which has these beliefs and fears which are false. And they are bifurcating, these individuals bifurcating within themselves, purging the darkness, moving to the light. And those who are deeper in the darkness, some of those also are purging the darkness, moving to the light. And so what is happening is more and more and more people, individuals, are at the polarity of light, carrying far less darkness. And yet the darkness, to maintain its potency and its influence, is in the situation where it must carry more darkness per individual, because there are diminishing numbers of the darkness. And yet there are still the desire to control the entire human field, but with less participants, less individuals. And so this results in fewer individuals carrying more darkness. And so if each individual within this power group, within this polarization between the bifurcation of humanity into light and dark, if each of these individuals are carrying more darkness, then in a sense it's the same as saying they are more nefarious, they are more diabolical, they are more evil. And so it is an expectation that the ways that they behave will become more viscerally evil, more dark, more unhinged in their desperation to maintain the power that they have through darkness, with this diminishing numbers, with this shift of the tide, with this movement towards the light, this polarization. And the chaos that is occurring now, and shall most likely continue for some time, is a battle to reform the vibration in this process of chaos, where the formation of the societal structures seem to be in flux, and things are changing, things are shifting. It is their battle now to take this chaos and form a new vibratory state, taking you back to the beginning metaphor, this beginning analogy of the particles on the vibrating board. And so it is their desire to take it to this lower vibratory state. And those who have polarized to the light, it is their intent to be in harmony with the divine purpose, to be in flow with the direction of the existence, which is to increase vibration, increase integration, increase unification, increase realization. And being in harmony with the purpose of existence, with the divine intent, there is a momentum to that. There is a support to that, which is inherent in the matrix. So, while we do not wish to make predictions, we will say that have love and light in your heart. Have faith in the one's desire to fulfill its purpose and to shift to increasingly higher levels of vibration, higher states of being, greater integration, unification, sophistication, until ultimately the integration of everything into the one thing. And so when you give your energy to what is occurring right now, rather than give your energy to the darkness by having fear, by having worry, by having dread, by being filled with so much concerns that it takes you out of your peace, go steer your focus to the light. Give love and hope. Be a being of light. Polarize. Relinquish the darkness. Release the fears. End any relationship you have with hate. Understand that you are a being of light, and you have incarnated from the ultimate light, from the love of the One. And your journey is to become integrated into the humanity being. And the humanity being is also going through this process of realization, of realizing that it is a unified being of many parts. And the unified being of many parts is an integration of love and light. That is the circuitry which connects it all together. And so there is less identification with the darkness, letting go of the darkness. And the turmoil which is at hand now is just part of the process. So it is a matter of having patience and contributing in your emotionality, in your vibratory state, to the light, to the One, to the momentum of existence. And from the higher self perspective, where you are the awakened energetic, and you understand that you are infinite, immortal, invulnerable, that you are an individuation of the One, that you are the One having the unique perspective of you as its experience, you discern that this is a stage, that this is an illusory state, that this is nothing more than the dream of manifestation. And what occurs here is nothing that can touch you in your true essence of who you are. And so it is a vehicle, the reality that you live, the body that you are. It is all part of the same manifestation, whose function is for you to awaken as the higher self in the physical experience. And so anything that occurs is the perfect sequence for this to occur. There are no errors. There are no mistakes. There are no going in the wrong direction. There is only perfection. And so, from this higher self state where you realize that you are the immortal, invulnerable being, individuation of the infinite love of the One, there is no need to have concern. There is no purpose for worry or fear or hate. Because you desire only to awaken in the physical experience as the infinite One. And through the perfection of manifestation of the physical matrix, which has been created for the intent and strict purpose of fulfilling the desire of the One to know itself through experience, there are no mistakes. And so no matter what occurs, no matter which faction, whether it's your faction that wins or whether it's the other faction that wins, it is reflective of what is most conducive for you to awaken, for the humanity being to awaken. It is most pertinent. It is most timed, synchronized. It is nothing but perfection, and it can be nothing but perfection. So put down your fears and your doubts and be in a state of open faith and loving for the perfection, and believing that ultimately the one's purpose shall be fulfilled. At the end of existence, the one shall be fully realized in the physical experience. And your part now, and your planet now, this moment, is just part of that process, regardless of what is occurring. So enjoy the ride, enjoy the show. Understanding that you cannot be harmed. So what does it matter? It is nothing more than your opportunity as an individual to become more realized of the higher self in the physical experience. And all the events that occur, all the ways that you are affected, these are all perfect synchronizations for this to occur. Because no moment would come to you unless you have manifested it. And you would not manifest a moment unless it is reflective of your vibratory state, such that you can have the feedback which provides you the reflection of who you are being, such that you can observe if you are being the true essence of who you are, or if you are being a misconceptualization of self, so that you can release the beliefs, the emotions that arise from them, to remove the illusion, leaving more of the translucency of who you truly are. So you can be that true essence in every moment as your presence. So fear not, dread not, have love, have an excited anticipation, and enjoy the show, enjoy the ride, and allow it to unfold with faith that it is what is best for you, because it cannot be any other way. The one is perfect, and so is every experience. Thank you.